We're live. Oh, we're dark. Let's see, is that us or is that? Who knows?
But we're live anyway.
Hi. Oh, we're getting lighter. I'm going to stand by the window. Which makes no difference. Let's draw the curtains. So, YouTube Live, a little discussion about sports optometry and paintball.
Yep.
I'll do the paintball part. You can do the sports optometry part.
I'll do my best.
So this is Ed, by the way. Ed is the man when it comes to sports optometry. And we've just filmed a ton of content for the Patreon channel, which some of you will no doubt enjoy. I'll put all the relative links below so that you can check out what Ed does, what the Patreon is, etc., etc. If you guys have any questions, please just pop them in the chat. I will do my best to see them as they come in and convey them to Ed, who can give us a bit more info.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
What toys do we have to play with, Ed? Whilst we're waiting for people to come on board.
Yeah, well, we've done a few little bits of videos on the Synaptic Sensory Station, which is an awesome piece of kit which came in from the States probably middle to end of last year.
I'm just going to see if I can move our camera angle a bit. Like that.
Shall we maybe draw the curtains? Maybe change the lights? So improve things?
That's a bit better.
Fantastic.
Yes, we're no longer in Saddam's cave. We're out.
Brilliant.
We're out. Right.
But a little bit variable with the light still, but
yeah,
this is going to help to improve and test our contrast sensitivity with this light. So yeah, this cool piece of kit, this really kind of helped to sort of revolutionise my sort of sports vision practice. Now we've got super dark.
Yeah, let's. I'm gonna just move this around and let's trick the laptop there. That's a bit better.
That's a little bit more.
Should we actually do a test so people can see the type of things we've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. We could maybe even do some of the actual visual training stuff.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
Let's do that.
Because Nick's actually gone through a set of assessments anyway. We could actually sort of go into some of the training protocols and actually have a little look at some of the drills that we can do.
Let's do it.
So, excuse my back once we just activate this. So if we hit the S, this is going to take us out of the testing module into training. Okay.
Training.
So on here, we've got hand-eye coordination training. We've got go, no-go training, which is critical decision making. This is kind of when you're going to make a shoot, don't shoot situation. We're going to have a little look maybe at dynamic vision. We can have a look at perception training. Whoa. So with perception training, we're going to have a central visual target, but we then need to be able to respond accurately to peripheral targets and peripheral information as well. So we've also got multiple object tracking. So we're going to start throwing in some movement. We're going to start throwing in some dynamic testing, making sure that we can have good, accurate central vision, but also be aware of what's going on in our periphery too. We've got depth perception and we've got near far shift. So this is testing how well we can make clear, accurate, concise, smooth eye muscle movements and change our focus in different distances. So I reckon we might should we do a hand-eye coordination test first?
Yeah.
Want to try that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Now, the beauty of this is we can actually customize the background and we can actually customize the target as well. So what we're going to have a little look at is maybe a blue sky day with some cloudy backgrounds. So we're going to do this one. So if we just put it under my little system.
I'd just like to point out, you don't get this service if you're just walking off the street.
Don't get this as Specsavers.
No.
So,
you don't.
So this test, again, is hand-eye coordination. We're also throwing in contrast sensitivity. Now, I'm not sure whether we can actually see this on the laptop, but here we've actually started to get some little targets which are scattered around the screen, and we have to make these sort of smooth, quick, accurate hand-eye coordination movements to find where these targets are. Now, depending on the sport, depending on the athlete that we're using, depending on the game, we can actually change and customize these targets. So we've got things like baseballs, we've got clays for clay pigeon shooters, we've got all sorts of different things. So if we just sort of get Nick to run through a test. So if
I thought I'd escaped.
Discard my rubbish 9 out of whatever.
Keep your 9, Ed. That's fine.
Fine, I've kept it. So, okay, so if we just exit and Nick is on.
And 2.
Go. It's just, yep, just that. Ooh.
Nick has no fear about breaking things.
Well, it's in resistant glass, so you're not going to break it. It's nice and tough.
Where some may have panicked at the wobble from the tablet at the top, That just encourages me to hit harder.
Getting good. Fantastic. So 36. So we're kind of equal top here, which is pretty good going.
Equal top.
Now, again, if we find that somebody has a particular area of difficulty, we can customize the whole game. So we can customize that training schedule. We can make the target smaller. We can make the contrast between the target and the background more difficult. So we can make the whole thing more intense. We can find that if we decide that we want to have a particular zone, a particular quadrant that we want to train on, we can change that again using this sort of differentiation grid here.
But you can actually get a higher score by hitting the centre of the target.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can bias the scoring. So we can.
We didn't do that.
So we can do whether you just hit it or not, but we can then really start to dial it in as to where you've actually hit that target. So making sure that the movement is quick and fast, but also as accurate as possible too. So another interesting thing, we'll save that one, is...
So could we make those targets paintball masks?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
We can do
brilliant.
anything.
Tune in next week
Yeah.
for paintball masks.
You can make them your, sort of your least favourite referee. You can do absolutely anything on them.
We would not do that to any refs.
So again, for instance, down here, we've got a green grass background and an orange clay target. So we're actually going to be using that with some of our Team G Olympic hopeful shotgun shooters. So we're going to start dialing those targets down. We're going to desaturate them, make them really, really difficult to find. And again, still keep training this hand-eye coordination, improving these neural links between what your eyes are seeing and what your eye muscles are able to do and what your hand-eye coordination is going to be able to be programmed to do as well.
I like it. What's multiple object tracking?
Okay.
Let's do that. If you guys have questions for Ed, this is prime time. Get them in the chat and ask.
Yeah,
however, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so anything that you've got that's a question about anything to do with vision, whether it's to do with glasses, whether it's to do with contact lenses, whether it's to do with laser surgery, whether it's to do with different color lenses for mask, anything like that, anything that you want to know that's visual, just sort of drop in a question.
You want to know what these are for? Ask.
Yeah, very smart. So we got a little question there. We just got a little bit of love from Tom Barrett.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hey, Tom. Right, more people watching. Share this, by the way. If you've not subscribed, subscribe, because then you get the inside scoop on all of this goodness. Multiple object tracking. And I think this is, I thought that was Ed trying to make things harder.
So
I wasn't paying attention.
We've got our little marker here.
Okay.
And we're going to have some predators. So essentially what we've got to do is we've got to move all of these targets around. We need to make sure that we're not going to be hit by any of these targets. So we've got to have good, wide peripheral vision. And each time we sort of level up, there's going to be more predators, more reds, more targets for us to avoid. So again, we're going to keep moving this around. Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting up to, whoops, right, hit. So we're going to be moving up to level 8.
I like, by the way, that there's a team called the Predators, and Paul Taft is red-headed.
So again, Nick can have a little go. What we might do for next is we're just going to bring the unit up. So obviously Nick's a bit taller than me. So we don't want to disadvantage him any more than that.
This is where Ed ups the Predator count to 100. Why don't you just kill the Predators? So can you just go?
Yeah, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can sort of do something.
Oh no! In my big mouth.
So I'm sure we can start to customize something. So let's have a little play. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the number of predators there.
Right.
We're going to increase the speed as well.
I mean, like, no one likes speed of 300 to 500.
Absolutely not.
Right.
So Nick, you can go under my profile there. So if you just touch your little screen, it's going to count you in. 3, 2, 1. Let's
go. Stay away. I can tease this predator. Can I make the predators tired?
You could give it a try.
Woo. Come on. Come on, Tufty. It's Tufty and Mike. Whoop.
So, yeah. Now, what I might have done by accident is actually made it a little bit easier.
Yes.
So I think
this is great. I'm going to make these predators dizzy.
Faster. So we've actually sort of gone a bit easy on it here, which we need to address that pretty soon.
What happens if I let go?
If you let go, then you're just going to be sort of static, and then you'll get eaten. So yeah, I think we've made
it's taken me a long time to level up.
It is. I think it's because we've just made it far too easy.
Yeah. Come on.
Should we go and put it back on hard level instead? Because this is just too simple. Yeah, you've touch off. So let's get rid of that one.
It did, just to clarify, I get 47 seconds. And then got 37.
So let's put you on there. Okay, this is going to be a little bit harder. So if you activate your little unit and you've got to protect him.
Whoa!
So now I feel a little bit more speedy.
Okay, I might get to level 2.
Level 2.
Woo! I was hoping that you'd tell. Oh, where did he come from?
So what Nick's doing here is, even though this just looks like quite a fun little game, we are processing where our green marker is, but we're also having to use this peripheral vision to locate where the threats are. So we're having to sort of train focus, hand-eye coordination, peripheral vision, and all that kind of stuff. And he's doing pretty well. And not really well, really. Oh, he's dead. What a shame. 37.
Oh!
37, so we've tied. We've got a tie.
I didn't realise that you could crash into goodies.
Yeah.
And still lose a life.
Yeah, you just don't want to crash into anybody.
No, you don't. No. No, you don't.
So we sort of discard that one. Now, the perception training module, that's actually quite cool. That's quite good. So with perception training, we're going to be mapping different shapes.
Okay.
And if I just sort of put this on. There we go. So we're going to start with a pretty easy one. So with this, we've got a central target, which is in this black one, and we have to try and find and match the partner test.
Say easy, but this is no walk in the park.
And as the test progresses, the targets are going to get further away. And we're going to start adding extra targets here. So what this is training, again, as well as hand-eye coordination, it's testing our ability to throw our eyes out wide and make the appropriate decision. So there, we got the wrong one. Here, brilliant. And again, we can have a little countdown here. So if we manage to do that when there's lots of the green left, we get more of a score boost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just like this. So if I get a few more wrong.
Allow me. This will be relatively simple for me to get wrong.
And we'll be dead very soon. Okay. So if we just discard that one.
I have a question.
Yep.
For me, when I was watching you do that, I was obviously trying to emulate it. And which one would I pick?
Yep.
I didn't always see which one was right, but sometimes I saw which one was wrong.
Yes.
So how does the kind of reverse engineering process fit into your skill, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think...
Because I was kind of like, bad guy, don't die. Type of thing,
Yeah.
Good guy, you're okay. And I just kind of, yes, there's a definite skill to assessing this is the right one, there it is. But there's kind of like a half tick of, that's wrong.
Yeah,
don't hit that.
Completely. And that comes down to the sort of the critical decision making of the go no go test that we also looked at.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a strategy that I've used. So with this, again, I was trying to find the partner, so the one that was equivalent to it, but also having the awareness of expanding that periphery so you can locate the other targets and find out that they're not right. By a process of elimination, you can then find out the target that's correct.
Sure.
Yeah. So a way in which we can layer some extra difficulty to this is to make the background more confusing. So we've chosen a particularly horrible background, which is the same sort of
kind of like your demo is the white background.
But yours is the same as your underpants. So we've got this kind of more sort of funky background.
How did it? No.
So here we go.
God.
Good.
Oh God.
So now we're really sort of stretching that focus, we're stretching that periphery out, and we're giving this sort of complicated, moving, awkward background to deal with as well. And again, we get a score from getting it right, of course, but we get a score multiplier by getting it when it's still on green. Brilliant.
Luck. This really is. I look at the closest one and hope it's that. And if it's not that,
that's a technique that seems to be working for you.
Yes, it is. Oh no. It's one of those two.
It is. Yep. Now, another way in which we can load this kind of test
Who knew this was my favourite background?
is we can use some stroboscopic glasses. So if we just sort of activate these.
This is when you sense that Ed's bitter. I'm clocking up a good score.
He's doing pretty well. Oh, I spoke too soon.
Yeah, first. That's okay, I've got 2 more lives. I'll go left-handed for this one.
So with the strobe specs,
4! That
I don't know what
feels
you can see with
really-
these.
Oh, no.
We've got some flicker going on. Apologies for the light here. There we go. So with these are the synaptic strobes, and these are some LCD glasses which we can use to limit the visual information that someone is receiving. Now, these can be controlled using the little analog buttons on the side or using a free app that you can sort of sync Bluetooth to your phone. So what we're going to do with Nick at the moment is we're going to get him to put the goggles on. Now, we've set up the flicker rate, so it's on, I think we're on level 4. So that's probably a little bit too slow. Now, the faster the flicker, the easier the task. The slower the flicker, the more visual information we're going to be restricting for Nick and making that sort of whole visual task more difficult. So we're going to load this level up to essentially force him to process neurologically, process more efficiently and make a guided hand-eye coordination movement based on limited visual information. So, Nick, you're doing too well at the moment. Oh, you've died. Even just the concept of the thought of using the synaptics.
Level 11, I'm quite pleased.
There you go. Do you want to pop those beasties on?
Oh, okay.
Now, to use the synaptic strobes and to use the confusing background might be a little bit too much. So we're going to try and just make it a little bit easier. How are you finding with those flickers?
This has to be YouTube gold.
Absolutely.
Like if this doesn't hit 1 million views, what is?
Okay, so if we go on normal.
Imagine if you had. This is really weird.
So as we said, the faster the flicker, the easier the task, because there's going to be less visual interruption. Now, as Nick's progressing, he's got one wrong already. Look at that. I was going to say we need to make it a little bit harder, actually.
No, don't worry. Nick can dumb it down quite well. Don't worry.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. So I think what we're going to do is going to change the flicker rating.
This, just to give you the viewers a description of what this feels like. This feels like being in the car with a really bad driver, currently, who's talking to you about shapes that you... I reckon it's that one.
Process of elimination.
Oh, crud.
Yes. Good work. Okay, so what we've done here now...
The flicker rate makes quite a difference.
It does make quite a difference.
Yeah,
so we've slowed it down so that the frame rate is now changed. So we're actually sort of robbing Nick of some crucial visual information. So he's having to process this data a lot more efficiently.
Nick is struggling.
Nick's doing really quite well, actually. So I think we might sort of give him another couple of goes on this sort of flicker rating. And then we're going to take the goggles off and have a little look at how it feels from his perspective when there's no visual interference there.
Nick
so again,
needs to lie down.
We're going to put that up to level 5.
Jesus.
So now there's more visual interference going on.
And this is like literally, I didn't even see the shape.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Now we've got 3.
Pure guesswork.
Good.
Can't even see the circle that the shape is in.
You're doing super, super well.
I reckon that one. Nope.
Ah, we've perished.
Oh,
so if we now just take them off.
Nick is not a fan of wearing these.
But again, it's kind of that whole thing of sort of train hard and fight easy. So if we can make the training protocol more difficult by using this, as we said, it forces that person to process more efficiently. And then when that...
Don't waste that.
Absolutely. When this is removed, then the whole thing should feel more comfortable. So...
I'm muting her in. Nightmare Speak QB, how are you guys doing? Right.
I'll just do that one for you because he was a little bit distracted by the fandom.
It's weird. It feels like it takes ages. And you're like,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
Come on,
so
machine.
You should theoretically feel as though you've got so much more time now compared to when you were having to sort of make almost a panic snap decision based on the limited visual information that you were getting when the goggles were on.
Oh, I wasn't really paying attention. I think it's that. Oh, I'm tempted by it, but no, it's that.
We've made a good recovery.
Yeah, lucky. Oh, again, not really paying enough attention. Is that? No.
There you go.
Oh, it's weird how those two shapes block me, block my ability.
Brilliant. Cool. So, any questions coming through yet?
Quiet on the question
Quiet on
front.
the question front, but we've got some
Very
just sort of saying hello.
Yeah.
So, we can have a little look at some.
I guess like the big unknown for most viewers is this isn't an area that within paintball development that is commonly discussed. So it's like learning Japanese.
Yep.
You're actually quite happy you've learned the word and not insulted them. You don't need to know, how can I order a 3-course meal at that stage? Just thank you.
Yep.
Is a good start.
I mean, the whole sort of concept of sports vision in the UK is probably 5 to 10 years behind other countries, particularly the USA and China.
Okay.
So China have really started to take on board the whole sort of sports vision aspect for trying to make sure that their athletes and their players are actually getting the very, very best access to technology.
And it's really a push to elevate the performance of their athletes.
Yes, very much so. Because everybody kind of takes their vision for granted.
Yes.
And we all think that we can see, and we all think we can see pretty well. But until we've actually discovered what actual true potential is to see how sharply we can see, how accurately we can see, whether we can improve our depth perception, whether that can have a positive effect on our reaction time, our peripheral vision, our visual awareness, our ability to intercept, our ability to make those sort of really accurate snap shooting decisions, then it's about just getting that person to achieve their potential. And as we said, sometimes that potential might just be correcting a refractive error. So it might just be, well, actually, you're a little bit long-sighted. And if you're long-sighted, that just means in order to see well, you have to put in some physical effort to focus. And your visual system, like any muscle system in your body, can get adversely affected by fatigue, stress, tiredness, dehydration, hormone levels, glucose levels, medication, all that kind of stuff. So if one or more of these factors is being adversely affecting you, then sometimes you might not see as quickly or as accurately, as sharply as you should do.
Right.
And if we can try and control some of those visual variables and help to make that person see better and more accurately, they're going to perform better on the field.
I like it. Before we do another example of a test, the viewers out there probably haven't been to a sports optometrist. They probably haven't had an eyesight test in the past 12 months, which I imagine is quite common.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
What is the literal, from the ground up advice of how do you find out where you're at visually and then what do you do next?
Okay. Well, I think it's just important that everybody just go to their regular optometrist and just get an eye examination, probably every couple of years. It's just important to make sure that you're seeing to your potential and seeing well, and making sure there's no sign of any eye conditions or even any general health problems that can be picked up from an eye examination.
Can you give us an example of that? Not wanting to kind of take this to a different level, but I think people probably don't link an eye test with more general health.
So probably the most sort of common thing is diabetes. So due to modern living, due to the way in which a lot of people are becoming a little bit less active and modern diets, there are more and more people who are becoming diabetic. Now, diabetes will affect your vascular system in lots of different ways, and that can have a detrimental effect on your vision. So we can find sometimes that people who have diabetes, their vision can fluctuate. So sometimes they can have times when they're seeing really sharply and other times when things are a little bit blurred. And when we actually physically examine the eyes of a diabetic person, sometimes if the blood sugar has been poorly controlled for a prolonged period of time, the blood vessels start to get damaged. So we can actually start to see areas of leakage, of hemorrhage, so blood, proteins, fats, lipid, that sort of thing on the retina. So we can sometimes find that we can make the diagnosis that somebody has got a metabolic condition and a hematological condition like diabetes from doing an eye exam. Obviously, you can also test for...
I was going to say, what's the most extreme one that you've had?
Probably every 2 years or so, we have somebody who comes in and we find out a brain tumour. So we might find that we have a completely symptom-free person who just comes in for their eye exam, and through certain types of examinations we find that there might be an intracranial mass, and that can obviously have life-limiting impacts.
Absolutely.
So and there are more of these around than we think.
Sure.
And as we said, pretty much for me as a clinician, at the moment it's probably 1 every 2 years.
Right,
Sometimes
okay.
we might have the associated symptoms that we'd expect. So we might find that somebody comes in complaining, being a little bit headachy,
Right.
or finding that visually things are just not right. So issues with visual clarity, sometimes issues with things like losing a bit of coordination, so bumping into stuff, being aware that peripherally we're not picking things up as quickly or as accurately as we used to. And these can all be red flags for us as clinicians to see whether that person has actually got potentially sight and life-threatening issue. And as we said, they are out there. I think probably the last 3 or 4 that I found personally were from people who had literally no symptoms whatsoever. And
wow.
we picked it up based on when we did peripheral vision analysis. So looking at giving somebody a central focal point and measuring and analysing how well they could see in the periphery around that. In these cases, there were areas of weakness in that visual field plot which indicated that it was brain tumour.
I feel we should do a peripheral vision test. So it's like, if this is bad news, I'd rather know.
That's the kind of the more sort of extreme case.
Sure.
And we can have little things like diabetes, and as with diabetes can be a complicated condition, but it can be managed.
I guess lightening the mood.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. I think this is a great topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of eye health.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, most paintballers can appreciate how they gain benefits from them going to the gym and being physically more able to and more capable. I'm assuming the same applies to our vision and our eyes.
Yeah, very much so.
But how you get eye health, how you boost your eye health, how you maintain your eye health. You know, I just have in my mind a picture of just sitting on the sofa and going, right, look up, look down, look left, look right, and repeat 10 times.
Yeah.
You know, and what can you do?
Well, I think, as you said, that's really important, because if we were to take 2 equally motivated, equally talented, equally skilled players, potentially the one that sees the best is going to win.
Right.
So it can be sometimes as small a variable as that, because if someone sees better, they're going to react faster, they're going to make better decisions, they're going to have better awareness of their surroundings. So from an eye health and a visual training perspective, as you said, the very sort of fundamental basis.
Put me in, coach.
There you go.
I'm ready.
Is to make
this
sure.
is like one eye blinking.
Yeah,
what have I done?
We've changed it, we made it even more difficult. Is to make sure that you just do get a regular eye exam, and then the clinician will tell you if there's anything that's wrong. But the topic that you mentioned about simply moving the eyes around, that's actually quite good.
I mean, that was just me, thinking on my feet of, if I wanted to enhance a muscle, I would exercise it or stretch it.
And you've got 6 pairs of muscles that move each eye around. So you've got muscles for convergence, which is movement in, divergence, which is movement out, movement up and down, and also rotational, torsional stuff. And as we said in one of the other videos, if we think of our eyes like video cameras, each one of them is moving around, collecting dynamic and static information. If one or more of those muscles is too strong, or one or more of the muscles is too weak, the eyes lose their synergy, they lose their synchronicity. So sometimes doing some simple basic eye muscle improvement work can actually really start to just help how the 2 eyes work together. It's important that that's guided by a clinician, though, because sometimes if you start doing eye training work that you found online, for example, you might be overtraining and improving an already too strong muscle.
Okay. So it's not a case of everybody do this exercise.
No.
It's a case of, if you need to improve this muscle, this is the exercise for you, or the set of exercises.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think if we might even use yourself as an example, when we talked about your vision, about your contact lenses.
Yes.
So what we did with yourself is, because we have some astigmatism, with astigmatism it means that our eyes are slightly different curve. So rather than being spherical like a football or a baseball, it's a little bit more rugby ball shaped. It's a bit more elongated. And what astigmatism does is it causes distortion, particularly of rounder objects, but it can also rob us of our contrast sensitivity. So that fine visual acuity and the ability to differentiate between target and background. So if we're going to correct the astigmatism, we're going to see more sharply, we're going to see more accurately. Now, a really nice practical way of correcting this is to use a contact lens. I wear contacts, you wear contact lenses.
Yep.
With astigmatism, though, the contact lens has to sit in the right place. And if the astigmatism lens has to sit at maybe 6 and 12 o'clock to work, if it starts to move around on the eye, we're going to start getting some blur in it. So we can correct that with a spectacle. Yeah, exactly. But wearing glasses for paintball isn't always going to be that comfortable or even that effective, because we've obviously got the mask, we've got the glasses underneath that. So we've then got 4 surfaces where we can be sort of losing vision. So generally you lose light off the front surface of the mask, off the back surface of the mask, off the front of the back surface of your glasses as well. And then if you're getting really kind of hot and it's really cold and they're going to start steaming up, then we're going to be losing even more focus. So we put that lens into a contact and we put it on the eye. Brilliant.
Okay.
But some of the lenses move around.
Yep.
So what we did with you was we made a map of your cornea and custom built a really cool special lens, which has got a gas thermal bit in the middle and a soft skirt around the side.
Sounds cool. It is cool.
Yeah. Probably, yes. I would say the only paintball player in the country who's wearing this type of lens.
Yeah, probably the world.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Because when we did this,
probably universe.
This was pretty groundbreaking technology, because it was a really brand new concept to try and find a way to make the vision for somebody who wears astigmatic toric contact lenses more comfortable, more consistent.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, at the time, I wasn't playing as much paintball as I'm actually playing now.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing more shotgun shooting, and there was a difference between being ready to shoot and your lens rotating into a position where it was blurred,
mm-hmm.
and the lens actually staying put for the entire day, shoot, mm-hmm. whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Paintball-wise, I don't even think about the lenses anymore, and that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. I mean, from a paintball perspective, and from anybody who's performing any kind of sport, we want the people, the players, the participants to just kind of forget about their vision and make sure that you treat your eyes like you treat your kit. Because if you want to buy a new marker, if you want to buy a new piece of equipment,
like you should treat your kit.
Like you should treat your kit. Because if we're going to buy products, we're buying products to perform better. But if we can look after our vision and actually improve our sight, we actually make ourselves better players by virtue of improving how we react to a situation. And we can do that kind of just, holistically making ourselves a better athlete in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we said, if we think about our visual system as a variable we control, the variable we can control and enhance and improve, that's kind of the way to look at it.
I feel we need to go into the realm of do.
Yep.
So what other toys do we have?
Fine. Okay, what other toys
do we got?
Let's have a little look.
This is like Aladdin's cave. Aladdin's visual cave.
So we've still got this one going. So I think we're going to have just to sort of kill ourselves on this one. Figuratively, of course. So if we just get these wrong, we have to get that one right. Get one more wrong and we're going to go off. So down there. Good. Okay. So we sort of discard that one.
Beth's killing it on that one.
Beth is amazing at that test, actually. Yeah, she's actually really, really good. Again, I think as we touched on with the strobe glasses, what we can do again to kind of level this sort of thing up is we can put little BOSUs, little half balance balls down here, because that can help to train proprioceptive feedback. So that is really important from a balance perspective. So if you
actually do that with clients,
yeah, absolutely. So we're sort of developing a visual training program for a girl who's going to be shooting, hopefully, skeet in the Tokyo Games. So from her, visual accuracy, hand-eye coordination, and reaction time are absolutely critical when you're going to be competing at an Olympic level. Now, with her, we're going to be starting to sort of disrupt where she's standing. So we're going to start to change that feedback. So she's got something else to process, as well as making speedy, quick hand-eye coordination movements.
Now, is this as simple as the more you can overload the competitor in training, the easier the competitor is working in competition?
100%. Yeah, very much like that.
Sound familiar?
And again, we can actually take some of that onto the training field.
Sure.
Some of the other stuff that we touched on earlier on with the strobe glasses was looking at hand-eye coordination just by simple throwing and catching drills. Yeah,
and this sounds really kind of easy to do, but put these on and it is a whole different body. In fact, I'll demonstrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do I?
So let me just take that completely black lens out because that's going to be a little bit.
I'm just going to show people that I can catch whilst you set those up. Because this is like so unbelievably hard. It's crazy. You feel like you're wearing kind of Mickey Mouse gloves trying to get the ball.
There we go. So I first sort of came across these when I was in the States at the Sports Vision Conference, probably in 2007.
Yeah, you can see there. See there flashing. See, that's where you see good Ed, bad Ed.
There is no good Ed. And these have been sort of used quite extensively in NHL, NFL, hockey, everything like that. So
really, was people?
Yeah. From a training perspective,
I would not be able to skate with these on.
So I'm just sort of going to get out of the shot a little bit, and then again, just.
I'm hopefully.
There you go.
Crikey.
Yeah. So if we just do left-hand catch.
No chance.
No chance.
Luckily, this is a soft ball.
So left-hand one. There we go.
Now, there's a lot of guesswork in this. As in, I see the ball leave your hand sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just see, going
a bit freestyle, leave some behind the back stuff, and the whole thing's gone to hell.
My choice. And now we play find the ball. And sometimes I don't see the ball leave your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just see the after effects of you having thrown it.
Yeah, and that is then training some visual analysis. It's training some peripheral vision. It's training this sort of neurological processing side of things. So what Nick's actually having to do is either trying to look at my hand, seeing where the ball is going to come from. He's going to be trying to visualize where the trajectory is. And some of this happens so sort of quickly and subconsciously that he's having to make this hand-eye coordination movement based on limited visual info. So when we do that exercise without the glasses, everything kind of feels like it slows down. It feels as though you've got more time.
There will come a time where I have these whilst playing paintball.
Yeah. We can do that.
And we will make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take a field trip to Bassett's Pole.
Sounds good.
And make that happen, because I think this is something that a lot of you would find a lot of fun.
Mm.
There'd probably be a lot of head-butted trees if I was to wear these tomorrow. So, gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's have a little look. So what else are we going to do? We've done multiple object tracking. We've done a bit of perception training. We've done some hand-eye coordination. Let's just do some go, no-go stuff. So as I said, this is critical decision making. This is hitting the appropriate coloured targets, and you don't hit the red targets with this. So sometimes we use this with tactical weapons officers who come in if they're going to do some training, because obviously they have to do shoot, don't shoot situations with very, very sort of serious side effects if you make the wrong decision.
We've all played Time Crisis too. We're ready.
So this is your go target.
Okay.
This is your no-go target.
Okay.
Now, this is a little bit different. There we go.
Whoa. Well, this is different,
Isn't it?
when you've actually got to hit it within the time.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm waiting for you to throw a no. Those far ones there.
So you're 2/3 of the way through.
Crikey. This is not the one you want to wear, those blinkies.
Well, again, we can load it and we can start throwing the strobe specs in as well to make it that little bit more difficult.
I don't think I need more of a challenge.
Okay. So from kind of an onlooker perspective, just sort of looking at how Nick performed with that, he did really, really well with the central stuff, and he was really quick and really accurate. But as soon as we started throwing out some of the peripheral targets, it became more difficult. Now, obviously, there's kind of
about 53% on the periphery.
Yeah, probably
So-
a bit, maybe. Oh, look at that, fantastic. Of course, there's a biomechanical aspect to this, because the peripheral targets, they're further away, so the arms have got to move a little bit more in order to get that.
Sure.
But again, if we felt that there was a peripheral issue, so if there was an area where we really wanted to improve that, we can sort of make that test into the periphery. So again, when we're dealing with goalkeepers, for example, they're not always so focused on what's happening centrally, but they're going to be looking at far peripheral stuff for making saves into corners. So in order to do that, we can make those targets significantly smaller to be doing like things like fingertip saves and all that kind of funky stuff.
Right. As we're coming to the end of this live stream for today, purely because Ed and I both are running out of time, Ed's very kindly agreed to help develop paintballers' visual skills. What helps you do your job, if that makes sense? In the sense of, what information from the paintball community don't you know that you feel is valuable to how effective your advice can be?
I think me sort of playing more of the game is going to be really important.
Done.
And we can certainly sort that out, which is going to be exciting. But I think just opening the channels for communication. So there's obviously, if anyone's got any questions, just drop me an email. My email address is ed, which is ed@ed-lyons.com, and it's Lyons.
Perfect.
There's no charge. So if anybody has got any questions about the vision, just feel free to drop me an email. Give me some examples of any issues that you might be having when you're actually playing. So you might feel that you play really, really well on a sunny day, but you might find that when the light levels are a little bit poor, your performance drops down.
Right.
You might find the other opposite thing is true. You might find that you perform better when the light levels are bad. You might find that bright sunny days are all uncomfortable. If you have kind of weird, unusual visual effects with things like your vision going blurry, if you're running around with sort of heightened senses of kind of physical exertion and stress, that would be interesting to talk about. So literally any questions that you might have at all about visual performance, as we said, whether it's about glasses or contact lenses or coloured lenses, nutrition, that kind of thing.
If somebody wanted to take it even further and come and have the full-on assessment, and the assessment that I've done with Ed in the past, we're going to feature in a series of videos. I think it's probably going to be, a 10-part series dedicated to the areas within sports vision. If somebody wants to take it further and come and do that is that a service that is available to them? Or is it a case of, sorry, Olympians?
It's open to absolutely anybody. So we've sort of dealt with people who've literally just started playing their sport 2 or 3 weeks ago, but wants to try and eliminate any variable and be as good as they possibly can, literally up to Olympic medalists. So we're based here in Wolverhampton, and we're at Flint and Partners Optometrists on the Tettenhall Road in Wolverhampton. So if anybody does want to take this a bit further, either drop me an email, or if you want to give the girls a call, it's 01902 422 096, and we can have a little chat, or we can even book you in. We can go through some visual assessments and see how we can make you see to your potential.
What I will do after this is uploaded and after I get to a suitable location is I'll add all of that information in the description below. So you don't have to remember it and kind of rewind and scribble down numbers. I'll add all of Ed's contact details and any applicable information that you want in there, so that anybody who does want to take it further, we appreciate that this isn't going to be everybody who just jumps on this and goes, you know what, yes, I'm in, I'll have that sports vision test, assessment, and then develop the program of, training, etc. But there are those who it does appeal to. So I'll gladly provide you with all of Ed's contact info so you can take it further.
Yeah, very much so. Or as I said, just sort of hit me up in an email if you do have any questions about anything to do with your vision at all, any issues with kind of ocular family history kind of stuff that you might be interested in, like, my brother had this problem with his eyes, is it going to affect me, that kind of thing. Anything that you want to know about, just drop me a line.
Love it. Perfect. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in. If you have enjoyed it, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Also, share this video like crazy. Let's raise the bar of proficiency within paintball and make it, a true sport. Thank you again for tuning in. See you all soon.
Cheers.